Hey everybody. So I wanted to talk today a little bit more about the post that I wrote yesterday. And yesterday I wrote a post about how, I was sitting there talking with my family and I noticed that I was having this wave of, I felt kind of nauseous and I felt this anxiety. I just moved halfway across the country. My whole life is changing. This is the first time I've lived in another state from my daughter. I've never even really lived in a different town than her. So, there's just a lot of adjustments and changes happening in my life. And so, once I felt that feeling come up of that kind of wave of nausea and that wave of anxiety, then I started feeling panicked about how I was feeling. And I started noticing that that's a normal reaction for me because I don't like feeling that way. I mean, who does, right? So, but this particular time I was able to kind of move away from the experience and away from how I was feeling and think about what was actually happening. And I was noticing that I was making it worse with my panic about feeling that way. Because once I start feeling that way, then I start thinking, what if I always feel this way? What if this never goes away? What if I never feel settled or, at home again the way I did before I moved? And, those thoughts were not helping at all. But luckily, my next thought was much more productive, which was, what if there's nothing wrong with how I'm feeling right now? What if this is exactly how I should be feeling? And at that point, the panic immediately went away. And I mean, I'm still left with these sensations in my body of feeling nauseous and feeling anxiety, but I didn't have panic on top of it. And I think that it's so easy to do that when we have these unwanted feelings, when we feel grief, when we feel sadness, when we're worried about our kids, when we're worried about what's going on in the world and, we don't know what's going to happen, from one day to the next. We have a lot of changes happening in our world right now. But I just like to offer that just like addiction, our kids' addiction and how we feel really uncertain because of that, that's just exactly what is happening in the world right now is doing. It's just shining a spotlight on everything, that feels uncertain to us, but it's that way every day. I mean, we just don't think about it. The only thing that's certain in life is the uncertainty, right? That, we just don't go around thinking about all the worst things that could happen all the time. But because right now we're getting so much input on the news and there's so much speculation and there's so many things that we aren't used to knowing or not knowing about, and we want more information, we want our lives to go back to normal. And, I just think it's an important time to realize, to stop and look at how you're feeling about how you're feeling. So, are you beating yourself up for struggling right now? And, are you giving yourself compassion? And, I was listening to this podcast the other day. Brene Brown has a new podcast out, and I've read all of her books, watched her videos of her TED Talks on YouTube, which I highly recommend. They've been so helpful to me. But in her podcast, she was talking about how FFTs, which is first effing time. And there's a lot of that going on right now, right? People losing their jobs, people, temporarily being laid off, people at home and their kids are home and they weren't expecting it to be, just all kinds of unexpected situations happening. And this is our first time, we should be struggling. We should be trying, working to figure things out. So, in the face of that, like, just have some compassion, I was struggling with something the other day that's really new to me that I'm dealing with since I've moved. And I was beating myself up because I didn't understand it and I was struggling to figure it out. But it was, my first effing time. I've never dealt with this before. So just beating myself on top of it is just making, it's only making me feel worse. But then after I heard that podcast and she was talking about, giving yourself a break and just being brave. And then I stopped and thought about what I was doing and how brave it was. And, I was just able to give myself a break, like stop beating myself up because I don't know something that's new. And like, where does the idea even come from that I should know how to do something that I've never done before, right? I shouldn't know, but yet we come up with these ideas that we should just have all the answers to everything and be perfect all the time. And, life just doesn't work that way. So, I wanted to talk about just really checking in with how you're thinking about yourself and how you're feeling and thinking about the way that you're thinking and feeling right now. And taking time to just say, you know, honor that it's okay if you're having a hard time right now. Whether you're dealing with addiction or somebody shares this and you're not dealing with your kid's addiction, whatever you're dealing with right now, it's okay to feel how you're feeling. So just allow it. You can't move away from something when you're trying to run from it. It's like trying to hold, a beach ball under the water. It's just going to explode out eventually. And so we have to allow those feelings and allow them to work through this and then not judge ourselves for how we're feeling. Once I allow something like that and I move away from it, like I did the other day when I was thinking about, creating panic in myself because I had some anxiety, it really helped me, and then I was able to just start thinking more clearly about everything that was going on in my life related to moving. And, something I noticed the other day was I've been more tired lately too. And I was driving somewhere and I was using my GPS. And it was still pretty early in the day. I noticed that the battery in my phone was dying. But I've been using my, GPS a lot on my phone lately. And every time I do that, every time I don't know where I'm going, it runs the battery out on my phone pretty quickly. So, I was just thinking, well, that's exactly where I am right now. I'm having to use my GPS all the time to figure out what to do next, where to go, what to do, trying to create this new normal for myself in a situation that, on top of it, there's no normal in the world right now. So of course I'm more tired, I'm having to use all of these resources and always, thinking about things that would normally kind of be able to do on autopilot if I was back, in Oklahoma where I used to live and everything was just familiar to me. Yeah, I didn't have to think about things the way I do now. So of course I'm tired. And before I even really thought through that analogy with the GPS using the battery on my phone faster, I was just kind of wondering, like, what's wrong with you? Why are you tired all the time? So even though I'm constantly checking in with myself, I still catch myself beating myself up sometimes. So I know that everybody else does it too. And that's why I wanted to talk about this is just, really having some compassion for yourself right now, allowing yourself to feel how you're feeling, and then, sit down and just take a few minutes to give your brain a break. Take a few minutes to do something that's going to offset all of the negative information that's coming in. Everywhere you look, social media, the news, we have all this information coming in that we're trying to process. But we can set it off with, positive information. I'm listening to more podcasts. I'm reading more. I'm reaching out to my friends more. I'm setting up Zoom calls with them. I'm trying to do more to lift myself up because I need it more than ever in this time. And so does everybody. It's so easy to get caught up in just trying to get through the day because you've been thrown into this new situation where you can't go to work anymore, or, you're working from home and your kids are at home and you're trying to homeschool them. And, you know, everything is just different. So give yourself a break, take a minute and really figure out, how you can intentionally move forward in this situation. Choose the amount of information you take in every day. Offset the information that you're taking in that produces fear with information that makes you feel better. We can't just go on without recharging our batteries. I have to recharge my phone more when I'm using my GPS. And it's the same thing with us. We have to recharge our batteries as well. So, if I'm offering free coaching for one more week on anything. It doesn't have to be about dealing with your kids' addiction, because I think that everybody could use a little extra help right now. And so I did 2 weeks of free coaching, and last week I had, a lot of great calls, and I talked a lot about a lot of things other than dealing with people's kids' addiction. So there'll be a link to sign up if you're interested. If you know anybody who's going through a hard time and beating themselves up because they're going through a hard time, share this video with them. This can be one of the things that they use to recharge their batteries and to give themselves a break. And, reach out to anybody who might need to hear from you right now. A lot of times I feel like, oh, I haven't heard from anybody lately, but everybody's just trying to get through the day right now. And so if you haven't heard anybody just from people that you would normally hear from, remember that, they're going through a lot of uncertainty too. And they could probably, use hearing from you. It would probably make their day. So, sign up for a free coaching call this week. Reach out to a friend, listen to some podcasts, read a book, whatever it is for you, and give yourself some compassion. And I will be making another video soon and doing some more posts about this, because I just want to offer as much information as I can about any tools that I can offer to get through this time. So I'll talk to you soon. Bye.